Welcome to this week's edition of Ask Coach Marie. I'm Marie O'Neill, founder of Padma Life Coaching, and your host on this series. This is the place where you ask a question and I give my unique opinion as a life renewal coach, astrologer, and past life regression facilitator. Please know that I am not a therapist and I will never tell you what you must do. Each week on Friday, a new video is released with me answering 2 questions from the viewers. I will also give additional insights on various topics such as astrology, life renewal, consciousness, healing, and various other life renewal topics. So let's get going with the first question. Now, the first question comes from Darby. Darby is in Florida, and she says, my husband and I are not on the same page when it comes to handling money. Can you give me ideas concerning how to change this situation? Oh, my goodness, Darby, that's a very good question. And it's my understanding that money is the leading issue that couples have. I will certainly give you my ideas on what you can do. And remember, they are only ideas. It's up to you to either accept them or not. Now, for those of you who are listening to this, if you are in a relationship and you're thinking about getting married or making a commitment, it doesn't mean that you literally get married. Maybe you just want to live together. I would suggest that you work out how you're going to handle money before you get deep into a relationship, before you make a commitment to the relationship. Because if you can work it out beforehand, it makes it a lot easier as the relationship develops. I mean, you can always revise, edit, that sort of thing as you go on in the relationship, but it's a good idea to have that money talk on a few occasions before you make a commitment to the relationship. If you are already in a relationship, as Darby is, there's a few things that you can do. Number one, you already have some history together, and you know how each of you handle your money. One of the things that you can do is go to a financial counselor. And this isn't necessarily a financial advisor. This would be somebody who can counsel you on money and how each of you handle money, because you've come together and you're bringing your unique perspective or your unique opinion on how money is to be utilized in the relationship. You're bringing it to the relationship. One of the counselors, the types of counselors that you can go to is, you can go to an astrologer who specializes in this. There are astrologers who specialize in money and finance, and also astrologers who specialize in relationship astrology. That's actually the one that I would recommend you go to, because what they're going to do is look at your charts, your individual charts, and how each of you bring your money issues and your money beliefs to the table and see where the friction is in the chart, and also give you ideas on how to resolve it. There is also another chart that is looked at with relationships, and that's called a compatibility chart. It's really a comparison chart where the 2 charts are put together and you come up with a third chart, which, by the way, in a relationship, it's the third chart that is actually running the relationship. I won't get too deep into that now, but I will tell you that there is an evolutionary intention with your relationship. And money is one of the aspects of that intention. And it is imperative that you know what that is so that you know how to proceed. So you can go to a financial counselor, you can go to an astrologer, you there's other people that you can go to also. There are coaches who can help you with this. But in addition to that, one of the solutions that I think might work is having separate accounts, figuring out, of course, sit down and figure out what your monthly bills are, monthly expenses together, and what are each of you bringing to the table where finances are concerned. Are you making approximately the same amount of money? Does one of you make more money than the other? And if whoever is making more money, in my opinion, actually would be the better person to take on more of the responsibility of paying the bills. For example, if you, Darby, are making more money than your mate, say you're making twice as much as your mate, maybe you want to consider taking on 2/3 of the bills and having your mate take on 1/3 of the bills. That's one way of doing it. And where I was talking about the separate accounts, I believe that it's a good idea. I'm a proponent of having separate bank accounts that you can put a certain amount of money in so that you can have free reign to do what you want with that. Maybe 10% of your income goes into that account, maybe not. Maybe that's not the issue. Maybe there's a deeper issue there that you are working on. These are just a few suggestions. There's a lot of different ways to work through this issue. And I would suggest, however, that you start by having that conversation with your mate about money. Have that conversation about how they view money. Maybe they were raised differently and with different values where money is concerned. And that is something you need to discover and talk about, not argue about. It's better to not have this conversation when you're angry. It's better to have this conversation when the two of you are relaxed. Maybe go out to dinner or go for a walk or do some activity to make it a little easier to have this conversation. And know that when you're having these conversations, it's not a one-off, it's a continuous conversation that you're going to have with your mate, because your values change over time. And when values change, you need to revisit the way you're living your life or the way you're handling money. I hope that helps you, Darby. That is, please let me know. Send me an email or put a comment in the comment section here, letting me know what you think about this. And I wish you well with this money issue. I know that, or I believe that it can be resolved. It does take compassion. It takes having an open mind. It takes honesty. And it takes looking at how you value money, how you were raised with money. Maybe you were raised as a spendthrift, or maybe you were raised with a family that was very conservative, or could have been a family that spent a lot of money or couldn't save. There, you get the point. You really do need to figure out how you value money, how you were raised with it, and start that conversation with your mate. And by all means, go to an astrologer who specializes in relationships, go to a financial counselor. You can also go to a financial advisor, but the advisor isn't going to be able to counsel you on how you use money. Anyway, I hope that helps. Now, I want to have a conversation with you about consciousness. And the reason I want to have this conversation is because I've been listening to a lot of documentaries and shows on YouTube and Netflix and different places about talking about consciousness, which is something that a lot of our religious organizations talk about too. I mean, why wouldn't they? Anyway, I want to talk about it just to give a little bit of my own opinion or insight into what it is. Now, there's different levels of consciousness, but overall, it is that part that is all knowing, that part that is not in the physical, it's not in physical form. It is, you could call it, or part of it, our soul, but it's bigger than that because our soul or higher mind is connected to group consciousness too. It's connected to the consciousness of the family. It's connected, that soul consciousness is connected to the consciousness of the country that you live in or the country you were born into. It's the consciousness of the collective consciousness of all human beings. All of that is consciousness. And we, I heard an argument the other day about AI and that it has consciousness too. I could offer an argument that that is not true. However, I won't. Consciousness is in nature. The trees, the animals, all of them have consciousness. So what is consciousness? It's an awareness. It's a it is an awareness that comes from what is called in the East the prajna paramita. And that is a state where it's a state that is pregnant with everything that is created. It's active, it's aware, but it's before ideas are manifest. That's where ideas come from. And on the soul level, our consciousness is constantly evolving. Actually, on every level except for the absolute level, consciousness is evolving and expanding. So when I think about consciousness, I think about it as that part of us that is aware, that it has a certain level of being evolved. It may not be completely evolved, into everything, into the all, but it has a certain level. It's what I want to call it, evolution. It has evolved to a certain point. And I would love to have your viewpoints on consciousness and what you think. There's a lot of different viewpoints on the various TV stations. I mean, we see a lot of programs out here now on consciousness. Now, one of the best ways to access your awareness, your higher mind, your soul is through getting quiet. And you can do that through meditation, but you can also do that through just getting quiet and putting your awareness inside the body and just listening and being quiet. Your higher mind, your consciousness is constantly sending you information. For me, it happens in the form of a feeling or knowing. Sometimes I'll ask a question, and this is something I would suggest you do too, is ask a question to yourself, to your higher mind now, and get quiet or just feel what the answer is. That is your higher mind talking to you and giving you direction. It's a little bit different than our instincts, or I shouldn't say it's a little bit different. Instincts are a part of consciousness, but it's not the higher part of consciousness. It's the base level. Anyway, that is what I wanted to tell you today about consciousness. I'll revisit this topic periodically as we go along because there is so much to say about it. Now, our next question comes from Lisa, who is in Tenby, Wales. Hello, Lisa. She says, I've had a lot of tarot readings in my lifetime, some good, some not so good. What is your opinion on tarot? Wow, that's another good question. Thank you for asking. My opinion on tarot. I got to tell you, I have absolutely no idea how the tarot actually works. Excuse me. I can tell you, however, it does. It's from what I can gather, it's connected to our consciousness, to our collective consciousness. And when you ask a question to the tarot and you pull a card or two cards or three, however many cards you pull, the answer is there. Now, you do need to be able to interpret the cards because each card has a meaning. And on each card, there's usually a picture. And so you need to be able to read that picture. What I have found, the best tarot card readers are the ones who use the cards as what I want to call a jumping off point to access their intuition, which is also a part of consciousness. And they can access their intuition or their higher mind, and they can pull information from the collective consciousness or the akashic records, and we'll talk about that later. The akashic records it's a place where every thought, every deed, everything is stored. And we'll talk about that on another video. But I too have had a lot of tarot card readings, and some readers are better than others. Most of the time, you'll find when you go to a tarot card reader, you are getting validation on something you already know, something that your higher mind or soul has already told you. I, however, do use the tarot myself when I'm looking for validation, when I want more information on something. I'll pull a card, sometimes just one card, and I see the answer there. I'm given the answer. The other thing about tarot is there's a lot of decks out here, and each deck has its own specific energy. So depending on what it is, what the question is that I'm asking or is being asked, I will sometimes pull a or use a different deck, because each deck has its own consciousness. Sometimes I will use angel cards, or I'll use the Rider-Waite deck, or there's so many decks out here to use, and you'll have an affinity for some decks over the other. But anyway, I like the tarot. I would, however, suggest that you don't use the tarot as a replacement for your free will, because you have free will and you do need to make your own decisions. You don't want to use any of the divination tools as a crutch, because that's not good. You want to learn to listen to your inner voice, your higher mind, and follow that. That said, the tarot, I really like it. So keep on going. Well, we have come to the end of the 2 questions for this week. If you want to learn more about me, please pick up my book, And the Lotus Opened, a Memoir. This is where I talk about my life, basically, and how I went about healing some of the traumas that I've gone through. It's important for you to know that whatever it is you've gone through, you can purify it or heal it. You don't have to live with it, because whatever it is that you haven't dealt with, it's going to follow you wherever you go. It's going to actually be in the background with every decision that you make. So you have to, or you actually, it's better for you to do your best to work through your issues so that you can be clearer with living your life. And it's amazing, because when you clear out an issue, you'll feel yourself get lighter. It's as though there's a part of you that leaves the body, the part that trauma leaves the body, and it leaves you lighter. So anyway, if you want to get my book, go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or any of the other online bookstores. You'll be able to find it there. Now, last but certainly not least, I have a virtual healing retreat, which is coming up on October 17th and 18th. I'll put the link down below so that you can just click on the link and go to the Eventbrite page. There's going to be 5 presentations given on transforming relationships. This is going to be a fabulous retreat held over 2 days. It's 3 hours for 2 days. I look forward to seeing you there. And please, if you have questions, if you want me to answer your questions, send them to padmacoach at icloud.com. That's padmacoach at icloud.com. I look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you. Thank you to all of you who have watched this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe and click the little bell so that you know when new videos are being released. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.